Hi, I'm Aaron J. Marks of aaronjmarks.com and commercetheory.com. Welcome to my podcast, A Higher Level, where everything we think, see, and do happens on a higher level. For as long as I can remember, I felt like my mind has worked just a little differently than most others. For my entire life, I've been studying, observing, and contemplating this incomparably strange and wonderful phenomenon called human existence, and trying to figure out what it's all about. People say the way of thinking and theorizing that comes from this offers an unusually high and rich level of insight, clarity, freedom, inspiration, and effortless creativity. And that's ultimately what a higher level is all about. The insight to understand how life works, the clarity to see where to go next, the freedom to go there, the inspiration to find joy and wonder along the journey, and the creativity to honor your particular brand of human genius. In this podcast, I'm going to break down and describe the concepts that come from my theories so that you can see into the fabric of the life you're living with greater depth and precision, and use that understanding to improve your results in every way that's meaningful to you. It's the only life you get, and the only chance you have to make a difference here. If there's one thing I know, it's that all lives can improve, and that the human race is just one big collective results improving system. Ready to find your place here? Fabulous. Let's get into the topic for this episode of A Higher Level. I'll see you again afterward and talk more about what it looks like to work with me. Until then, let's dive in. Hey everyone, this is Aaron of aaronjmarks.com. I'm a commerce theorist, and welcome back to A Higher Level. It's my podcast where everything we think, see, and do happens on a higher level. This is episode 46, and we're getting to the end of the second series of the second season, which is all about my theory of commerce theory. So, commerce theory is about the 5 layers that we can use to analyze every human interaction. Because humans can't do anything in isolation, and so we're always interacting with other people. And I think that all those interactions are ultimately seeking the same thing. And I think that thing is completion, and it's the completion that was lost when whatever the ground of being was that divided into space-time, the space-time that we all have to navigate. And so the first layer is ontology, which is when we ask what exists, but also what could exist, um, and why do we exist when all could have been unified and not navigating space-time. But navigate space-time we have to, and so we do that using the second layer, which is theologies, which is where we say, okay, I think the best possible way I can do this is this, and that's how I'm going to behave. And then we create social groups around that. So the third layer is sociology. The fourth layer is ritual. So how do social groups ritualize, renew their identity? And then finally, the top layer, the layer that's on the surface that we see everywhere that we look, where humans are in evidence, is systems and signals. And this is the only one I didn't have analogy for, unfortunately. The closest that I could come to boiling this down to one word is semiotics, which is the study of signals and signs, because everything is signaling. But I think systems is an important element, and it's not quite the same as a signal. So let me explain what each of these are. So a signal is something we show, and a system is something we build to maintain, okay? So a signal is something that we show. It's something that we use to express our allegiance to these social groups. And we do it for the other people in the group, and we do it for people outside of the group. And they have functions of strengthening belief within the groups, right? So when we see the signals that we send to each other that indicate in-group allegiance, right? So this could be anything from a logo to an inside joke, right? Then suddenly we have this very quick renewal of identity. But we also use these to communicate to people outside of the group and say, here's a group that we have over here. This is the theology around which it's built. This is the ultimate valuation that we see. Would you like to join our group? If it resonates with you, you should join it. If it doesn't, you should find another group to join, right? That's what signals do. And systems are anything that we build to sustain operations because we do have to navigate space-time and physical forces and entropy. And so things have to be held together and they have to work consistently. And so we have to build a system around all of these ritualized behaviors that we perform to keep them consistent, to keep them happening reliably, and to help people understand how to do them correctly. So that's the final layer of human interaction. And everywhere that you look, you're going to see some combination of systems and signals. So it's like when I look above me, I see books on my shelf. They're full of signals, they're full of words and pictures that are used to communicate a certain sensibility about the world, right? A certain view of the world that there is a promise will enrich my understanding of the world and draw me closer to those people socially so that I can understand their view of ontology, their theology, the social groups and the rituals that they create. But a book also has other elements which are more akin to systems. So they have a binding and they have pages that are in sequential order, right? Those are systematic, right? Those help facilitate my consumption of the book. So it's not just this random assortment of words. We say, no, there's structure and order to the way that this book is put together. And, we all share systems in a very real way, right? So systems in a lot of ways transcend theologies, right? So it's like if you go into a church or a synagogue, you're still going to open a door, right? And there's architecture that sets those apart from everything else around them, right? But this is also true of restaurants and schools and government buildings, right? So, things tend to be systemized in similar ways, even though the theologies are different, right? Even having a system, however, is a signal because we're signaling that this group has enough cohesion to do things in an orderly way, right? And let's see, does that go in the opposite direction too? Like, are all signals systems? Not as much, I don't think. Systems can be signals can be systemized, of course. Anytime you run a marketing campaign, that's essentially what you're doing, or creating internal communication or standard operating procedures. Like those are all, systemizing the signals. So I think that's why semiotics is a thing, is ultimately, do reduce the world to a set of signals, right? And systems can be reduced to signals because creating systems indicates priorities. It indicates valuation, right? It indicates that this is the significant information that we want to make reliable and orderly, and so like that's a valuation right there. So this is, it's like literally everywhere you look, you are going to find systems and signals. Signals showing significance, which is actually redundant, right? Because signal and significance are essentially the same word, but significance is ultimately related to meaning, right? Which is related to theology, right? Theology is like it's the most value that we could hope to have, right? Like that's where we, give our allegiance. And valuation and significance are essentially the same thing, right? It's like we want the highest value that we can. That's a very significant thing to us, a very meaningful thing to us. So our signals point in that direction. They point in the direction of our ultimate valuation, which I've called the theology. And a system is what we use to facilitate the social groups, facilitate and maintain the social groups that we build around those theologies. So, literally everywhere you look, you are going to see systems and signals that are instituted, that are placed there by people showing the significance of the groups that they belong to. And showing that they have an interest in sustaining them and keeping them running in an orderly way. Just start to look around and you'll see it. Walk down the street and you'll see it. It's all systems and signals. And so start asking yourself, okay, what does that signal mean? What does it point to? What is the ultimate significance that the group around this signal thinks they're going to find in the ritualistic behavior that it enacts as a social group. That's human behavior right there, like in one sentence. So that's commerce theory. Okay. So how do we use commerce theory? I think I'm gonna come back and record one concluding episode about how we use it, how we see it. And part of it is like, yeah, you can see it, but it's like, if you choose to work with me, as a consultant in your organization, I'll be able to help you see these things much more quickly and much more clearly and much more completely, and understand the system, from top to bottom, so that you can much more productively control all of these elements in your organization and get better results, because ultimately that's what this is about. So that was systems and signals, the fifth layer to every human interaction. So I'm going to come back and do one more episode, a concluding episode, talk about the practicality, the relevance of this. So this is Aaron of aaronjmarks.com, and I'm a commerce theorist, and this is A Higher Level. It's my podcast where everything we think, see, and do happens on a higher level. We're going to come back and wrap up with one more episode about commerce theory. I'll talk to you then. Thanks for joining me on A Higher Level. If I've done my job right, you're seeing, thinking, and acting differently, with more clarity, more decisiveness, more intention, more success. The current state of your life is just a set of results, and they can all be improved. Doesn't matter whether it concerns yourself, your family, your friends, your community, your workplace, your investments, your world. Behave differently, act differently, communicate differently, and your results will change, guaranteed. But how do you change your actions, behaviors, and communications? If you're unsure, give me a shout. I've helped dozens of motivated leaders and organizations like you and yours to improve their results by discerning exactly the right next step. It's something not everyone can do, and it happens to be my specialty. Sound like something you can use? Learn more about me on all my media channels, and reach out to start your own conversation and improve your life in every way. There's nothing like it. And you're worth it, because if you're not, then no one is. Thanks again for joining me on A Higher Level. I'll talk to you next time, and we'll continue to see, think, and act on a higher level. Until then.